So, can a 2025 budget mini LED TV from Sony prove to be the bargain that you should consider before the 2026 TV models arrive, given its class-leading image processing and excellent backlight control? Well, let's find out. Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm Phil Hinton, and before we get into the review, thanks to everyone who's subscribed to the channel, old and new. If you haven't yet hit that subscribe button, then please do so, as you don't want to miss any of our in-depth reviews that are coming up very soon, especially of the 2026 models. And although I can't say anything at the minute, we'll have our first reviews of those coming up very, very soon. And of course, it helps us build the channel because it helps the algorithm. You can also read the full in-depth review of the BRAVIA 5 on AVForums, where we go into more detail than we can cover in this video. And you also publish our reviews first on the website, with our videos appearing on YouTube a short time after that. Also remember that our reviews are never sponsored by the product manufacturer. We want to bring you honest and unbiased reviews to help you make the right buying decision. We do, however, occasionally have sponsored segments where we feel that the message is important to you, our audience, and that it's not directly related to the product that's being reviewed in the video. AVForums is one of the largest AV and hi-fi communities on the web, so why not head over and check out what like-minded tech enthusiasts are saying about this TV and more at avforums.com. So what is it that we're looking at here? Well, the BRAVIA 5 is a mini LED TV, which means it has a VA panel for excellent native contrast, backed by hundreds of local dimming zones. This is all driven by the same XR Backlight Master Drive system that can be found on the higher end BRAVIA 7 and BRAVIA 9 models. But the real star, folks, is what's under the hood, and this is the legendary Sony XR processor. After all of these years reviewing TVs, I can still say that this processor is a class leader when it comes to upscaling and motion. If you watch a lot of broadcast TV, a lot of streaming, or just want flawless 24 frame per second film content, then this is the machine that you want, and this is the processor that you want. It just cleans everything up really well. Now, this is an entry-level premium model, but it carries that Sony cost. The 55-inch starts at £1,099, and it scales up to the enormous 98-inch version at nearly £5,000. It's expensive compared to some of the rivals like Hisense and TCL, but you also got to remember that you're paying for that class-leading processing, and if that's important to you, you'll want to spend the money. The TV looks good with a contemporary design language that suits most living rooms, and the feet are located in the centre of the TV, making it suitable for small TV stands and units. However, you can notice some of the cost cutting that's gone on, with the chassis feeling lightweight and made entirely from plastic. Around the back, we have 4 HDMI inputs in total, but be aware, only HDMI 3 and HDMI 4 are the full-fat 48GB per second 2.1 inputs. HDMI 1 and 2 are 4K 60, HDMI 2.0. HDMI 3 also has EARC for your soundbar. You've also got 2 USBs, an optical audio out, and a dedicated S-Center speaker input. Connectivity is solid, but the 2 HDMI 2.1 ports might be a pinch point for serious multi-console gamers. I've been measuring, calibrating and reviewing TVs for the last 2 decades, and I'm trained and certified by the ISF, THX and PVA industry calibration bodies. Plus, if you want to deep dive, you can read the full in-depth review at avforums.com, where we go into a lot more detail. Our testing rig consists of a Meridio 7 generator, portrait displays, Calman Ultimate software, a Klein K10 meter, and that is profiled to a Jetty 1511 high-res Spectro. These are high-quality measuring and calibration devices, cost many thousands, and are very accurate, so you can really trust these numbers. Out of the box, the BRAVIA 5 is disappointing, with grayscale tracking that has a lack of red and blue energy and slightly too much green. The gamma tracking is also too bright, from 10% stimulus to 70%, which is caused by local dimming that's never actually off. As such, the delta E errors are well above the visible threshold of 3, meaning that there's a slight yellow-green tint to images. The Rec 709 SDR HD colour gamut tracking is acceptable, as it's the inaccurate grayscale and white balance that have moved most of the saturation points on the chart. Once we calibrate the white balance, they should then sit much closer to where they should be. I used the CalMan AutoCal feature to calibrate the Bravia 5 and I was able to achieve much better grayscale tracking results with delta E errors now averaging 1.3, which is well below the visible threshold, meaning there's no visible errors seen when watching TV and film content. The gamma tracking is also much improved with just a slight darkening at 80 and 90% stimulus. This was unseen with content which we viewed. Following calibration, the Rec 709 gamut was also much more accurate. For HDR peak brightness, we measured 810 nits on a standard 10% window. Now that's good, but it's not the brightest on the market. Contrast, however, is a strong point. We measured an anti-contrast of 4368 to 1. We also measured BT 2020 at 72% XY and 75% UV, with P3 coming in at 90% XY and 95% UV. For more detailed discussion on the SDR and HDR measurements, then check out the review at AVForums, where I take a lot more time to get stuck into the finer details. Alright, let's talk picture. In a normal living room environment, and this is key, normal viewing conditions, the Bravia 5 really does deliver. Black levels are deep and you get fantastic shadow detail and the colour palette is natural. Skin tones are also spot on and they look lifelike. The local dimming here is excellent. When you're viewing straight on, the contrast is also very, very good. Watching a CinemaScope movie, those black bars do remain black, and we're talking about great backlight control here. But motion, well, this is where Sony just owns the competition. The video processing ensures that 24 frames per second content is fluid and free from judder. And broadcast TV, well, it's handled perfectly. You can also play around with motion flow for sports or fast-moving video content, but for movies, we suggest that you keep it off and you'll be golden. The speed of this LCD panel is also really quite fast. I didn't see any visible signs of any trailing behind fast moving objects. And for UK viewers, this TV runs Google TV, and thankfully that includes the essential UK catch-up services like BBC iPlayer and ITVX. There's no frustrating missing apps here. The Bravia 5 is also ready for console gaming. It offers two full bandwidth HDMI 2.1 ports at 48 gigabits per second. We measured input lag at a very respectable 13.3 milliseconds for 4K 60 and a blistering fast 5.5 milliseconds for 120 Hz signals. Now, I always sound like a broken record at this point of a review, but there's no such thing as the perfect TV, and the Bravia 5 is no exception. Firstly, the off-axis viewing, it's got a VA panel, which means that the contrast and colour shift are visible from around 25 degrees off axis. If your couch is directly opposite the screen, then you're fine. If you have a wide seating area, then this might not be the TV for you or your room. The TV performs best when viewed directly on with a little bit of ambient lighting. And secondly, well, that price tag. As I mentioned, it's a sizable premium over TVs from TCL and Hisense, which are similar in equipment, and in some cases they do offer better out-of-the-box accuracy and more features like HDR10 Plus support, which Sony still lacks. You're really paying for the XR processor and the quality of that video processing. The Bravia 5 is a strong entry, but its price forces us to ask if the processing really is worth spending those extra hundreds. If you're someone who primarily watches in a normal living room environment, who values class-leading video processing above all else, the handling of broadcast TV, the fluid motion, the superb upscaling, then this is a rock-solid performer. The backlight control is excellent, and once calibrated, the images are accurate and vivid. But should you buy the Bravia 5? If you want the unique strengths of the Sony processing and you're prepared to pay the premium for that technology, then absolutely. If you're a critical movie watcher in a dedicated pitch black room, or if you need the absolute maximum brightness for your money, you'll need to look at the competition. But for a premium do-it-all everyday TV that handles every type of content, the Bravia 5 is a good TV that is up against much cheaper and just as good rivals. So we've covered the Bravia 5 in some detail, and my written review goes even further. But what's your verdict on the Bravia 5? Tell us in the comments below. And if you've enjoyed this review, then make sure you press that like button and subscribe to AVForums and turn on that notification bell. We've got lots more TV, projector and audio reviews coming up in the next few weeks. I'm Phil Hinton, thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Goodbye.